Um, you know, and one last point I want to make about the arc where she went and helped to save Riley. I felt that arc was all about getting her back to Magic Town. She realized that after that arc, her place was Magic Town. The place that she felt at home, the place that she felt she could do most good for the world was Magic Town. So for her to be able to leave and try and find herself, she really did. She found that she has a home already. She is building that family there in Magic Town. So I guess her little walkabout in the world and working for Deep Scan and, bringing Giles back to Buffy and then helping Riley, that did do her some good and made her realize, I do have a home. I do have a family. And it just took me a while. It just took her a while to see that. Now, Angel and Faith's reunion in Season 10, when they finally meet up again, which I want to say was like halfway through the season almost, it seems so awkward. Just for the fact that, she comes back into town, she does not tell anybody, and they see each other at Nadira's, and Angel's like, well, when did you get back in town? And Faith just kind of nonchalantly just says, well, I just got back, and it's nice to see you, and, well, I had plans with Bran. Whoa. I mean, I don't want to say smack in the face to Angel, but it was just kind of like, hey, I'm back in town, and, yeah, I got plans. So, I feel bad for Angel, because it's like, there it is, kind of his best friend and his colleague, just kind of tossing him off to the wind right after she gets back into town to run off to some detective that we barely know anything about and that we find out later in the season who's a vampire. So it was just a little confusing and awkward there. Like I said, it was just really, really awkward. And the other awkward reunion was with Faith and Nadira. It just felt so weird for me to see Faith like, wow, you're out of your coma, you're okay, you're fine, and you're obviously a little different, but I don't feel like Faith felt enough guilt for leaving Nadira in that coma by herself and not being there when she woke up. And for that, and I get that Nadira's whole thing is forgiveness, and that's what she told Faith was, I forgive you. Don't carry this weight around like you did something wrong to me. Don't walk around and, wallow in this. I'm fine. I'm better than okay. Please forgive yourself. And I get that that's what Nadira is about, but Faith's character is all about, the redemption, and, we're going to mourn a little bit like Angel, and we're really going to reflect too much. So, and I felt like Faith didn't do that enough. I felt like Faith kind of got over leaving Nadira, in that coma caused by, Nash and the plague bomb. It was just wrong, and I felt like she should have felt a little bit more guilt, and she should have talked about it a little bit more. Or it should have been discussed more, in my viewpoint. But maybe they just didn't have time because of how fast they needed to keep the arcs moving at that point. The really interesting thing about, Faith and Angel in this season was how fast they got over the, well, I need to go find myself, and I can't be a part of your team because I always feel like I'm cleaning up your mess, and I'm always following you, and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. And then Faith goes and jumps right back into the Magic Town stuff. So it was a little confusing that she keeps saying, I want to find myself, I want to do my own thing, I can't be following you, Angel, all the time, I need to be my own person. And here we are, she just kind of jumps right back into the Magic Town stuff. And Angel's problems, and Angel's demons, and Angel's family. It was just, it was a little odd. It kind of went against the whole 10 issues before, where she's saying, I need to be me. I need to figure out who I am. But I like how they gave Faith and this Zane Pharmaceuticals a little bit of their own little mini story arc inside of Season 10, Angel and Faith. I liked seeing Faith question herself about Zane Pharmaceuticals, especially after Fred and Illyria show up, and Zane Pharmaceuticals does this whole mind meld where they try and see the brain waves, and then Illyria comes crashing out. It is really interesting to see Faith look at Zane Pharmaceuticals after that and say, maybe they're not as benevolent as I thought they were, or as good-hearted. So I did like that dynamic, and I wish they would have continued with that more. I know we already have Wolfram and Hart, which is, evil incarnate combined with the humans. So maybe that's why they didn't do the whole Zane Pharmaceutical human aspect and the magical coming together in Zane Farm, because they already have Wolfram and Hart, which is kind of like the same thing. But I thought it really would have been interesting for Faith to keep an eye out, especially since Miss Zane made that comment about, we are in one of the most unique towns with one of the most powerful beings in the cosmos. We need to stay here and, just see what type of information we can draw up. And that just sounded really bad in my opinion. It just sounded a little evil. So I really wanted to see Faith stick a little bit more with Zane Pharmaceuticals, just to watch them, not work for them, but to kind of keep her eyes and ears on them to make sure that they weren't going to go down the Wolfram and Hart path. The Faith, Fred, and Illyria dynamic, it was so interesting, but at the same time a little confusing for me, because Faith had never met Illyria. She had only met Fred that one time in Angel Season 4, and there wasn't a lot of not camaraderie, there wasn't a lot of communication between the two. So it was interesting when they did what was the art called? Those Who Can't Teach Jim. It was really nice to see that they tried to get those two characters together and build a bond between Faith and Fred. For as much as I was appreciative that they tried to do that, I wasn't really pleased with the arc. I didn't feel that there was enough there. I really wanted to see a little bit more bonding between, Angel and Faith, or not Angel and Faith, but Faith and Fred, since it was an arc about them, and I really felt they focused a lot more on this Mary girl in this school, where she really didn't have a real big part to play besides leading us to her dad who had the statue. So they talked about this Mary girl a lot, and that just threw the issue off. The entire arc for me got thrown off because they focused so much on Mary, and Mary really didn't have a role to play. I liked how they brought Drusilla in that arc too. I did like how they were finally putting all of these little pieces together, and how Arceus was coming, and how he brought Drusilla in, and how he tried to get Spike and Angel and the whole screwed up family. It was nice to kind of see that coming to a whole in that arc, and discovering that Arceus is building this huge family of vampires. So like I said, it's always great to see Drusilla, and I always like, how do I want to put this? I always like seeing two of my favorite characters have that meaty dialogue, and it was great to have Faith and Drusilla, two of my favorite characters, just go head to head, and I loved seeing that. Even though later in this video I'm going to explain to you why I didn't like it as much later on, but when I first saw them fight in Those Who Can't Teach Jim, I was really excited. I was so excited for Faith and Drusilla to re-meet up after Angel and Faith Season 9. So it was interesting that it was just a really interesting dynamic. That's all I'm going to say on that point, where Faith is very direct and Drusilla's all la-di-da-di-da-di-da, I'm talking to the stars and I'm rambling out the mouth about stuff that makes sense but doesn't really make sense. It was just such a good dynamic at first. Now, with Faith and Illyria, I also found that really funny. For Illyria just to kind of throw Faith up a building, and for Faith to be like, no, 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 as she's flying up this building. It was just absolutely hilarious for me. Because she didn't really know, she's never really met Illyria, she's only heard stories, so it was kind of funny to see Faith get her ass beat a little bit by Illyria. Like I said, anytime I get two characters that I really love in a scene that is rare, like a rare scene, it just gives me such joy. But like I said, I didn't really like the arc of those who teach Jim, or those who can't teach Jim, just because of Mary. But everything else was okay. I liked the introduction of Drusilla. I really liked the ending scene, though, where Faith and Fred were sitting on the top of the balcony back in London, having wine and eating cheese, just kind of sitting there having a girls' night. That was what I wanted. So maybe the arc wasn't so bad because the ending was exactly what I wanted. I wanted that camaraderie between those two characters. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the final arc, The Tale of Two Families, and how I felt Faith was really underplayed. Throughout the entire season, we had the premise of, Magic Town is this, magic that has this consciousness to it, and that Nadira is kind of this mother to this magic town, and Arceus comes in and is making this new family, and we find out that Angel is part of Arceus's lineage, and we find out that Drusilla has been brought back in, and we find, just all of that. And it all surrounds Angel. And I felt like for it to be a comic about Angel and Faith, they did not really give Faith much. It was all about Angel's past. It was all about Angel's demons. It was all about stopping the threat that Angel, I don't want to say caused, but that Angel was a part of.